Ladies and gents, welcome back. Today's story is about an Alberta grandmother whose life is on the line. She was on the top of the organ transplant list when the COVID-19 vaccinations came into effect, and now she's been since denied this life-saving procedure. And while she's been fighting her way through the court system, going all the way to the Supreme Court of Alberta, where they are now refusing to hear the case. This story from True North News. Supreme Court won't hear the case of dying unvaccinated woman requiring organ transplant. Sheila Nett Lewis is dying of a terminal illness. She was removed from the top of the organ transplant list after refusing to be vaccinated against COVID-19. Lewis said the Supreme Court owes her an answer as to why it won't hear the case. And this is becoming a trend in Canada, where the Supreme Courts of Canada and of the provinces seem to be refusing court cases, and we're not left with any reasons why. There's this recent court case that was just refused to be seen by the British Columbia Supreme Court. This was Dr. Brian Day of the Canby Surgical Clinic in Vancouver, who brought a court case to see why some people who are unable to get treatment because of busy hospitals and whatnot, why they can't seek medical treatment in other facilities, even in private care. Instead, most Canadians end up going down to the United States. And this is where this story goes, but I'm not going to jump the gun. Let's get into what's going here. Lewis said the Supreme Court owes her an answer as to why it won't hear the case. This is the highest court in Canada that doesn't want to do right by the people of Canada, she said in an interview with Rebel News. Lewis was unsuccessful at both the Alberta Court and Queen's Bench and Alberta Court of Appeals in 2022, with both levels of court finding that the Canadian Charter of Rights and Freedoms does not apply to the COVID-19 vaccine policies of Alberta Health Services. Now, this has been an argument from people on the left that health services is a right. This is what they say. Now, a lot of people on the right side will say, well, they're not a service. That's a positive right. You're saying that you should get services from people. But even in this case, where these are guaranteed rights to people, they're being denied to this Alberta grandmother in this case. And well, this is quite upsetting. This is quite upsetting. The Alberta hospital where she would receive her transplant, or her transplant doctors, both courts have dismissed her claim under the Alberta Bill of Rights. In a November ruling, the appeal court acknowledged its virtual certainty Lewis will die without an organ transplant. In January, Lewis filed a court application asking the Supreme Court of Canada to hear the case against Alberta Health Services. In March, she provided her Alberta Transplant Program doctors with a privately funded medical report known as a Connexus report, establishing her natural immunity to COVID-19. Lewis has now filed a new negligence claim against Alberta Health Services and awaits a court date. I'm not going away, she said. I have to fight for my life. I don't want to die. I'm 58 years old and I have a reason to live. I have grandchildren. I have children. Now, the newly elected premier of Alberta is not going to intervene in this case, she says. Supreme Court has long spoken out about Danielle Smith has long spoken out about the discrimination of unvaccinated Canadians faced during the pandemic, as they were barred from restaurants, movie theaters, gyms, and in Lewis's case, life-saving organ transplant. But during the recent provincial election campaign, Smith said she would leave the complicated decisions of organ transplants up to the experts. So she's deferring to the experts on this. Western Standard writing about this: Alberta woman denied organ transplant, approved for treatment in the United States. And this is essentially where Canadians go when they can't get stuff done in Canada, and for a myriad of different reasons, whether they're on a waiting list that would put them in a position where either they would just die waiting, or prolong or make the condition that they have worse, or completely just denied the services in Canada. And this is where we're at with this. But yeah, she's being denied, and now she's been approved in the United States. Alberta resident Sheila Nett Lewis has found an American hospital to give her the organ transplant she needs, but she has to raise the money to pay for it. Lewis was denied the life-saving procedure in Alberta because she has refused to be vaccinated against COVID-19. With the help of a few dedicated friends, Sheila Nett has now found a hospital in the U.S. that does not require the COVID-19 vaccination for its transplant patients, said Lewis's family and friends in a statement. Now, this is just absurd to me because, if there were any sort of effects from it, I understand. I would absolutely understand why someone in ill health would not want to take any sort of unnecessary medication, especially if they have proof that they have antibodies for it. And that's absolutely where we are here. The testing alone is estimated to cost about $100,000 Canadian, and the surgery many hundreds of thousands of dollars more. She has a Give, Send, Go, and it has raised $20,000 of its $100,000 goal as of Wednesday. And well, here we are today on Thursday, and it has raised $31,000 as of this point today. Now, I'm actually doing this video in the hopes that people watching this would click the link in the description down below and hopefully help out in this case here. So this is the Give, Send, Go page where you can go donate, and this is her story here. Now, having had COVID-19 herself twice, she asked her doctors repeatedly for a C19 antibody test. Now, in Canada, they refused this test, expecting that she had antibodies for C19 and therefore not wanting to subject herself to unnecessary vaccination, which had never been tested on people with her condition. Sheila Nett declined to take the COVID-19 vaccinations, and her doctors proceeded to move her to inactive status. She then arranged to privately have C19 antibody testing and was found to have extremely high levels of antibodies to C19, higher than many people unvaccinated against it. Now, this is just cruel and unusual in this case. Now, they have this policy in Canada that you have to have this vaccination in order to, for a lot of people, it's a term of employment. And it was, and across the board, it has been lifted across Canada in many cases. We don't need it anymore to fly, to travel, to enter the country. We don't need it for many other things, going to a theater, to go to a restaurant, any of these things. But now it's still required for this case for some reason. And in British Columbia, it's still required for doctors, practitioners, and nurses. And this is just, it's absurd. It's really becoming absurd at this point. It has been absurd for some time, but now it is just, it's gone even beyond this. I don't even know how to explain it. I'm at a loss for words in this case. But in this case, the appeal here is just to help save a grandmother in this case, where our medical system not only is incapable of, but is actively refusing to do so. Now, we have, thankfully, doctors in the United States, which by all intents and purposes may even be Canadian doctors, because of the amount of doctors that are fleeing our country because of just how bad our medical system has become. So maybe she'll be worked on by Canadian doctors. Who knows in this case? But here's the appeal to hopefully go over to her, the Give, Send, Go, help her raise the funds needed to remain with her family and stay with her family and in good health and in good condition. I have no more details about what the case is here, but hopefully we can get people to go over and get this number up there so we can at least get the ball rolling and get her into the position where she can possibly do that. And if not, maybe even just the Canadian system, if they saw that there is so much outcry and outpour into donating to this woman, maybe they'll change their minds. Perhaps that's something that we can hope for. Anyway, I'll leave this one for you guys. Please leave a comment in the comment section down below. Let me know what you think about this whole situation. And, well, I'm just going to leave it there. Keep on trucking.